This is this is something that doesn't get talked about enough. I know Luke's doing his part. They call him Luke Johnny Appleseed Rudkowski back in Poland. But this, the fertility rates reached a new low in 2024. And, if you combine this with kind of those recent studies that are saying, Gen Z is, more single, more alone, they're having less, bedroom relations, married couples, Gen Z couples are having less kids. This is kind of concerning. Hannah Claire, I'm going to start with you since you recently birthed a child. Why are you taking so long, and why won't you have more kids?
Well, this is actually an interesting question. So I have a very young baby, and it was amazing to me how quickly people started asking me when I was going to have another. I mean, I think I probably got the first question 24 hours after I got home from the hospital. And that's a compliment to me. Obviously, my first baby is pretty great.
Yeah, it's so perfect. The world needed more
experiences. The thing about what I find interesting about this article is it talks about that our national fertility rate has dipped since the 1960s when it was over 3.6 per children per woman. It's now down as of 2024 to 1.6, which is significant. I mean, replacement rate is 2.1 or 2.3, depending on whose economic statistics you follow. I have this conversation about, I'll be really honest about it, about like, when will I have another kid, if I have one. And I think that the hard thing about it is this is a perfect storm of a lot of issues. So I've always wanted to have children. I feel really lucky that I have had my first one. But it costs a lot of money. You have to make decisions about childcare and staying home and what kind of education you're going to provide for them. What resources do you have? And if you live far from family, things like that. There's also the apathy, right? Like people who are saying, well, it's hard. I don't know if I want it. It could intrude on my life. There's increased infertility issues. Some of that might be because people are delaying having children. Some of it could be because of environmental reasons. I just
SSRIs.
Right. I've listened to a girl talk about doing a mold detox and getting pregnant after 2 years of infertility afterwards. I mean, it is fascinating how many things can destroy this type of population growth. It's not just a social factor, although having generations of women's push feminism didn't help. And it's not just environmental, although having plastics in the food is probably not a good thing either. But I think, and Elon Musk is kind of the celebrity I would point to for this. He was on the forefront of being like, we don't have an overpopulation crisis like so many generations said. We have an underpopulation crisis, because when you have countries like South Korea and Japan that do not have enough young people to take care of their aging populations, you're in real trouble. And Western countries, and to a certain extent some Asian countries, although it's mostly Western.
Well, then what you do, Hannah Claire, you just release a disease that primarily takes out the elderly, and then you leak it from a lab, and then it hypothetically.
Or you have mass migration because everyone's interchangeable and you can just replace people.
Well, that's what Europe is doing, right?
That's what Europe and America are pushing.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. I mean, I have started talking about this a lot. Obviously we have to applaud Josie on the channel. She has I think she's passed replacement rate. So she's making sure the population is still going.
More.
But I think it's something people have to take more seriously.
Josie, what do you think? It's at 1.6. It's an all-time low of less than 1.6. We're down by a half a kid.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
3 daughters, 16, 15, and 10.
Okay, so it's time.
Yeah, I haven't ruled out having another child.
Oh, okay.
You have to. We're so far
Commit to it
Josie.
Here live on the show, Josie.
I'm already beyond what I need for replacement. I have
You've
to
done your job.
double duty at this point, honestly. So they were trying to say that we have a population surplus, which we don't. And I think because in order to get people to die off, we're easier to enslave if there's fewer of us, especially if we're all sick and weak, which is infecting us, our food, and infecting us with environmental stuff. I think a lot of the reason women aren't is what Hannah Claire said. There's environmental factors. There's birth control. I mean, women have endometriosis now because they've been on birth control since they were 10 years old.
And that's a relatively new finding, right? Like this generation of women, the women in their 30s and 40s are only now kind of finding out, wow, birth control is actually pretty bad for you. Like
birth control is considered anti-feminist. Like people get really angry about it.
Well, when I was in high school, like basically every girl was on birth control. Like it was like this, oh, you're 16? Well, you're we're not gonna have any babies in this house.
I was the only one in my friend group that wasn't on birth control. And it was like,
smart.
It was almost like looked at like, ew, like how can you not be on it? I'm like, well, I'm not.
Didn't you know it helps with acne, Josie?
Right? Like, exactly. Like, yeah, I'm on it for my acne. I'm on it because I have painful periods. I'm on it because I'm promiscuous. It's like, I didn't do any of that stuff. So I didn't go on it, you know?
Yeah.
I've had
It's the whole pill.
try to encourage me to put my children on it. And of course, I'm not going to do that. Of course not, you know? So this is something I've always been very, very attuned to. And then seeing what it's done to my friends who I went to high school with and seeing now, like many of them, how they've struggled with fertility issues. And a lot of them will struggle with that. And then they'll just make the decision, well, I'm not going to have kids, you know? So it'll be their choice to not have kids, not the fact that they can't because their bodies have been ruined.
And it's not just that. It's not that these hoe pills allow these hoes to be hoes, but more importantly,
it takes two, Luke. I'm just saying.
You should know. You should know.
I've been with the same girl since high school. What are you talking about?
Listen, it's not just that these hoes be taking these hoe pills.
Oh.
It's also the fact that when they do, and then they pee it out, it gets brought back into the water system and never gets filtered out.
Yeah, that too.
And these type of like hormone levels not only affect other women, but other males in the drinking water, right? It's not just the atrazine, it's also the birth control that people are inundated with without their consent, that are not taking it, that are also forced to take it because it just never gets filtered out. So it's a eugenics operation with soft kill weapons that many people don't realize. You have to be hyper paranoid about your health, just like I am. You have to nag your friends like I did to Jeremy and I do everyone else.
I was glad when you left.
You guys are being eugenicized and depopulated without your acquiescence and consent. And I think it's more important than ever to kind of realize, holy cow, almost everything around us is poisoned and it takes away from our ability to reproduce. And that is the biggest marker of health. And the vast majority of people are infertile, not because of their own kind of willing actions, but because of the things that are all around them that they had no idea was really bad for their health. Whether it's microplastics, whether it's all these other hormones or estrogens or all these other phthalates and all these other kind of disruptors of your hormone system. It is just a full-on biological chemical war that's being waged on you ever since you're born. And you got to be super paranoid and super smart about it, because if you're not, you're going to be in a position where you can't reproduce.
Well, and I would argue that if it's for those people who are fertile, who aren't struggling with things, the next obstacle you have to jump over is economic, right? I mean, if we are living in a culture that demands that both people in the household work, it becomes very difficult to have and raise young children. One of the most fascinating markers of our modern economy to me is the fact that nurturing careers are in decline and are perpetually understaffed. So things like nursing, things like nutritionists, things that are about taking care of people, typically jobs held by women. And part of that is because some of them aren't very high paid. I know teachers complain about this all the time. And part of it is because
they only work 9 months out of the year.
Well, and we are constantly pushing women and men towards corporate positions. They're pushing them towards something that doesn't have to do with their instincts. For men, maybe that's fine. For women, they should, if you're going to work, you should be allowed to be in fields that are uniquely natural to you, like being a teacher or whatever. The reality is that if we make it so that having children is an economic burden, more people who could have them opt not to, which is bad for us. There's a study out that talks about the car seats. Like if you have multiple children, if you get to 3 kids or 4 kids, you have to fit a car seat in each one. Car seats are big, they're heavy.
And they're expensive.
And if you have to, if you need a 4th car seat, you need a bigger car, which means you need maybe a higher payment. Maybe your insurance goes up. So you might literally opt not to have children because of that expense. That's not good. This is not the way we want.
Well, smart people are. That's the problem, Hannah Claire, is that smart people are doing that math. You know, Tanisha don't care about that. The problem is
she gets subsidized.
Right. Well, and she doesn't work, so she doesn't need to go anywhere in her car. But the issue is, Luke, how much of this? And I'll go to Josie then, Luke. How much of this do you think is also like, I'm going to go tinfoil hat a little bit here, but like, we know what like the WHO says. Like we know that they say there are too many people. They view humans as like a parasite on the planet. You know, how much of this stuff, like, it's crazy when you like, there's probably going to be huge lawsuits, just like I said, there would be against, you know, the COVID vaccine. There will be big lawsuits against these birth control companies, almost certainly, because they're going to, because these were never, nobody was ever told that. It was like, oh, you're 16. Have you had the talk? Well, actually, girls are like 13 or 14. They're usually getting on the pill. And it's like, you know, it's crazy how many were on it. And they never,
the doctors never tell the women the hazards and the kind of effects from it and how wrong things could go in their body if they continue to take it. The body is not supposed to be simulating a fake pregnancy for their entire teenage years. That is absolutely horrible and never really fully allows a woman to develop into her natural self. It is biologically just a Frankenstein type of experiment. It needs to be stopped immediately. Birth control needs to be ended now. Use a Jimmy hat, use a rubber. I don't care. Like, it's stop with the insanity. But again,
or understand that there's only about 2 or 3 days you need to be extra careful, and then you can have fun the other 28 days.
Or you just learn how to do the temperature thing, and you know when you're fertile, and you know when you're not. I mean, that's the natural way to do it. And it's like, okay, just use a Jimmy hat. Like, goodness gracious. But again, it is one of the key issues that women keep fighting on and why they keep voting for Democrats. It's like, no, my birth control. It's not just yours. You're forcing everyone else to take it by you taking it first, Karen. 2, you're creating biological harm that you're probably not even aware of. 3, there are bigger societal consequences here that are very vast, that are very big. I have already argued that there's probably a likelihood that the elites have technology that allows them to live forever. And they understand now that you know, they have to keep hold of these secrets, and they have to depopulate the world because there's no other way that they can get away with it, because everyone else is going to want it too. So to me, the AI is sentient. The technocratic singularity has already been reached. And now, instead of putting people on trains and into camps, now they're like, we'll make themselves, we'll have themselves be eugenicized. We'll have policies on TikTok and on their algorithms and on Instagram. And we'll make them hate men, especially white men. And I really do believe a conspiracy like that is already unfolding, because the results of it are pretty clear. Who has the most to benefit from it? These people who already have the technology to live forever, in my opinion.
Care to follow that up, Josie?
Well, another thing about birth control is it causes women to pick the wrong mates, because we pick somebody by how well. There was a study done on this. They had women on birth control and women not on birth control smell like the sweat of men, and they ended up, the women on the birth control were picking men that were like kind of closely related to them, like men they otherwise wouldn't. They weren't picking their brother or anything like that, but they were picking men who shared too much to the point where they wouldn't be a good match for health.
Interesting.
And this is women. We do this. We don't know we do this, but we do. And so women not on birth control can pick a mate that is healthy and that would complement them well, that they'd have healthy children with. But all these women on birth control aren't doing that. So what they're finding is women, when they get married to the man that they've been on birth control with forever, then they're like, okay, you know, we're ready to have kids now. And by this point they're 35, because people are having kids much later in life now. And they get off the birth control and they realize they're no longer attracted to their husband anymore. And so that's driving the divorce rate, because these women are suddenly like, they can't stand the way something, they don't know what it is. It's not a smell that you can pick up on. what you sense out. It's something biological. And so now there's divorce, and now these women are getting too old to have children. And it's just this endless, awful cycle. But another thing for propaganda when it comes to population decline, A Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if you guys watched that. So we all
did watch it, actually. Yeah, at least the first season.
I watched it. You know, exactly. So they started comparing everything to A Handmaid's Tale. Everything. I mean, this is back during like Kavanaugh, like when
not being able to abort your baby is a handmaid tale. It's like, wait, what?
And the thing about it, so what Gilead was, it was this post, like this world where population was in decline. So in order to fix the population, they came up with a religious fanatical plan to fix the population, as opposed
to there was like a mass, like, infertility problem, coincidentally.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
most
And
women
they blame
couldn't
it
have
on climate
kids.
change. Yep.
Yeah.
Climate change. Yeah. Caused this infertility issue. And so they were forcing by religious edict that everybody has to have kids in this certain way. And they created this religious hellscape. But that was a big propaganda. So now when these women on the left, especially here, population decline, they're like Handmaid's Tale, so it goes directly to, we're going to have religious tyranny if they try to make us have kids.
Yeah, I don't want to make anyone have kids, but I recognize that we have an issue here. I'm going to do my part, even though I'm old.